We all only have a certain amount of time to draw, and it can be difficult to devote that time to practicing fundamentals instead of drawing what we want. I have been trying to think of ways to practice fundamentals but still draw what I want. And so far I have come up with a concept where I draw 5 pictures back to back. They will all be of my characters and showing the world in the background. Okay. This way I care about what I'm drawing, but instead of trying to quickly get to the finished product, I want to slow it down and focus more on using the proportion, perspective, and simple lines. This is not for learning fundamentals. It's for trying to practice using fundamentals when drawing from my imagination and seeing what I'm missing, what I need more information on. For this video, I'm going to get the thumbnails for each of the pictures and then block them out, get to the robot people stage and block out the background. And then for the next video, I'm going to get to the refining lines, the finished penciling, and then the finished details. For the first picture I drew, I did it without any references, and it worked out okay, but it is very simple. And then for the second one, I got stuck a lot more because for one, it's a saloon scene, people playing cards, and I haven't put in all of the structure for the hands yet. And the angle being a slight top down, not top down, like a 3-point perspective, which I didn't even think about. I just drew it the way I pictured in my head, and I only realized later that I should have made it a 3-point, like figured out where the 3 points were, but I didn't. And I spent a long time trying to figure out the proportion for the guy who's coming to the table, and I'm still not sure it's quite right. So by also letting these sit, I'm hoping that when I come back to it to add in more details, I will be able to see more problems and be able to fix them. But it wasn't until the third picture that I drew, I realized I hadn't put in the perspective, and it looked off because I started where you could see a lot of the top of the bed, and there was no real perspective that made sense. So I noticed that it should probably be a 2-point perspective, but I couldn't figure out where the dots would be, the vanishing points. So I ended up looking at some videos, and I still couldn't quite figure it out because it seemed like the points would be way off the page. So after looking at the videos, I kind of understood how the bed should look, so I adjusted it so it looked better, and then from there I tried to use the lines, the edges of the bed, to figure out where the vanishing points would be. Then when I tried to use it to adjust the scene, I realized that the desk would totally shift. The edge of the desk would have been brought in, and that just would have looked awful and not like the image that I wanted. So I'm still not sure how to use the 2-point perspective with my imagination. And how do I figure out where the 2 points are to work with the image that I see in my head? So I ended up leaving it because I think it looked better, but that's definitely something that I need to think about before I start drawing. For the fourth one, I couldn't figure out what the perspective for that one would be because it's just outside. But I also think that I will be completely redoing that one because I don't particularly like any of it. My original idea for the house is that it's supposed to look kind of like a skull, but it looks too cute. I'm gonna fix that and probably draw a new thumbnail and then try to figure out what perspective I want it to be in. Because images 2, 3, and 4 are all almost in 2-point, but they're kind of more of a 3-point. That's a default that I noticed where I tend to make a slightly top-down look, which I've noticed before, but doing these drawings back to back is really highlighting my bad habits, which is a good thing. That's what it's for. And I did the last drawing, and it's also pretty simple, but I ended up using 2-point perspective in the background to figure out the teepees, tents, kind of. And I made sure it was a 2-point in the front, that he's walking straight at the camera. You're at kind of a eye level is more like his waist. And even though that one's fairly simple, I think I like it the most because I spent more time trying to figure out the base structure, and I spent more time finding references to get him to look appropriate. So far, part 1 has gone quite well. I have found many bad habits and it has highlighted that I need to figure out how to use the perspectives. I think the only one that I understand pretty well is 1-point perspective. My next video is about a comic where I'm trying to make the whole thing in 2-point perspective to give myself some practice. And I hope that will cement in using 2-point perspective instead of just doing whatever I was doing. Well, thank you for watching. Bye.